Afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing? Good. For those who don't know me, I'm Foxy Jezebel, loudmouth on the Twitters, blogger, a writer, graphic designer, and we're going to be doing a little panel about journalism and pop culture. So pop culture and geek media coverage they're these ever-evolving entities, right? They basically mirror the changes in the work in the field and on our world. But mainstream media outlets seem to always maintain a certain demographic as the default. And that leaves other demographics, specifically people of color, wanting for content from creators that mirror them, that mirror us, in identity and shared common interests and experiences. So this has led to the rise of various media brands, from editorial websites and to magazines to podcasts, covering media, pop culture, politics from a POC perspective for POC. So today we're going to discuss the growth of these, niche media outlets and creators, and talk about what all of this means to its audience and to the creators themselves. So, with that said, let me introduce my illustrious panel. So, we're going to go from here to here, from, I guess, right to right, whatever. So, first up we have Janicia J. Francis. And Janicia is a professional black girl from the Bronx. Yeah, stand up. That's Virgin Wakanda. Stand up. Okay. And a womanist race nerd focused on dismantling white supremacist patriarchal capitalism while laughing, drinking tea, and indulging in various forms of black joy. Janicia is also one half of Tea with Q, with the Tea with Q and J podcast. Tea with Queen and J. Sorry, gotta get it right. Gotta get right, Miss J. She is one half of the Tea with Queen and J podcast, and for the past 4 years, she's created audio content centering black women and black femme identifying individuals and black ass community building events. In addition to freedom and liberation, Janicia loves cosplay, believes there's a special place in her heart and hell for body paint, and lovingly asks that you do not call her a lady. Next up, we have my girl Constar, aka Constance Gibbs. Connie is a writer, editor, and an epic tweeter and TV junkie living in the NYC. She's currently a writer for Children's Magazine and a writer-editor at Black Girls Create. As we know, she was a features writer for the New York Daily News and the TV editor for Black Girl Nerds. Her other writing has been featured in The Mary Sue, Hello Giggles, The Nerds of Color, Just About Right, and Bitch Flicks, among others. Next we have Nay Marie. Nay Marie is a published photographer and retoucher. Her combined love for imagery and her community birthed the publication Taji Magazine. Taji Mag is the epitome of the positive black experience. Their brand embodies the traditional and modern royalty of Pan-African people via their quarterly digital and print publication, and live events. While reclaiming Pan-African narratives and imagery, Taji offers its readers quality advice to assist them economically, healthy options to maintain a happy lifestyle, think pieces to test the societal norms that are not meant for us, hashtag Black Love Convos, to increase the self and communal love in all aspects, beauty and fashion inspiration to sustain the legacy of our Black artistry, and more. Nay Marie is also the founder of StockOnyx.com and co-owner of OurBlackWeb.com. And she is a firm believer in building and sustaining the Black community from within. It is vital that we support and patron Black-owned establishments. And finally, we've got Eryka Hardison. Eryka is the founder and editor of Fabulize magazine. It's a blog-turned magazine that, I'm just quoting from your website, it targets women of color to discuss natural hair products, beauty and skincare products, art, style, events, and urban culture trends. Women across the globe, from Brooklyn, New York, to Brazil, to Kenya, and even Tokyo, will fabulize in beauty trends, entertainment, and art as they fabulize themselves. I tried to, but it's a work in progress. And it's the devil's balls outside. As a bombshell while discovering art, food, style, and social events that cater to the people of the African diaspora. So let's have it for the panel. Okay, so let's see. This is the first question I'm going to put to everybody in the panel. So, how'd you get started in your careers, and what was the catalyst that pushed you to create the content that you do now? So, anybody can start.
Okay. I actually went to LIU and received my degree in journalism, and I minored in art and public relations. I started working in media immediately. I was working at Travel Channel, I was working at AOL, working at a couple of magazines. And what I found when I was working in the newsroom, that no one really wanted to accept any of my pitches when it came to anything regarding Black culture. I really had to force an editor to listen to me and pitch stories, and after a while I got tired of being rejected. So I created my own platform, and from that it turned into, why didn't you give me that story? Why didn't you give me that story? And it was like, well, I gave it to you, you didn't want it. And I remember one of the first stories that I had a pushback on was covering the Black Comic Fest in Harlem. I tried to pitch it to HuffPost Live before it shut down. And I was saying, we really need to be there, we need cameras there, we need to do social media there. And then no one, it was like a dud, no one really took any notice to it until a couple years later. And now they're like, hey, we're recording, Eryka, we got a photo, interview. So I just pretty much took matters into my own hands and created my own content that I knew people wanted to see.
So, ditto.
I felt the same exact way. I wasn't seeing anything that reflected the community that I was in. I felt like all mainstream media, everything in the news was negative. Taji was birthed around the time that Mike Brown was assassinated in the street. So it was like everything was negative during that time. And I knew too many amazing Black-owned businesses, too many Black people in general, just doing really great things, not to basically reclaim our narrative and our imagery and change the trajectory of the information that was going on about our community.
I went to NYU, got a degree in media, culture, and communication, and just couldn't get hired after that. Learned no hard skills. So I just started writing things on the internet because that's what they tell you, just like write it yourself. So just like I really love TV, so lots of like TV recaps and just my thoughts on diversity in television and media, and that sort of expanded to like larger nerd media. I hopped on board to a website called Black Hole Nerds and was a TV editor there for a while. And sort of just like you guys were saying, I mean, both of you created your own thing. I just like jump onto things that are already in progress. So now I'm a managing editor for a website called Black Girls Create, which is just like highlighting Black women content creators and trying to give women a space to express their nerdy selves and their art and their opinions about media, which we don't often get to give because our pitches are rejected or we're just not hired or staffed. So just, you know, I think we all kind of come from the same impetus with them.
Same origin story.
I kind of fell into podcasting or into media. I was working a job, which I still am working. I was working a job that I didn't love. I felt no passion in it, and a friend of mine was doing internet radio, and her team wasn't working out, and she was like, "Oh, do you want to do this with me?" And I'm like, "I don't listen to online radio." And I guess people still do that, but I'm down to do a podcast if you want to do a podcast. I always wanted to get into writing, but I'm not a writing type of person. I just had to switch my language because I curse a lot, so I'm sorry. I'm translating in my head. Translating to not everybody.
Yeah, we're not trying
Wow,
to
I had it perceived having to do that. But anyway, yes, I'm not a bad writer, but I don't enjoy expressing myself that way. So podcasting turned out to be something that I could do the things that I always wanted to do. I knew I had a perspective that was unique. I knew people weren't writing the things I was thinking or saying them anywhere. So podcasting was a really great avenue for that. And as we were doing it, it started out as us just kind of, you know, talking over tea about race and gender, because that's just what we were interested in. We realized that there was a void of voices that sounded like how we sound. There were Black women in radio, but they didn't sound like us. You know what I mean? They didn't sound like us, and they weren't necessarily talking to Black women. There are a lot of media outlets for which the face is a person of color, but the audience and who they're directing their tone to is the white mainstream. And so through doing the podcast, we learned how important what we were doing was, and so we applied the things that we found to be important to that podcast. Like, I need to talk about white supremacist patriarchal capitalism. I have to make sure I'm centering Black women and femmes. It just became our politics became the podcast.
Yeah, it seems like the common denominator is we have stories to tell, but nobody quite really wants to hear it for some reason.
Because Black.
Yeah. Sorry, fish don't wash. Okay, so in terms of the stuff that you guys do, are there any specific things that you guys enjoy either reporting about, talking about, or highlighting on your specific platforms? Anything in particular?
I personally like running up on talent. Like, if the most serious about you at a con, like, I don't have like a specific plan. I just go and say, I want to talk to this person. I have a list of people I want to talk to, and I try to create evergreen stories, like stories not just for the moment, but stories that actually last. Last year, New York Comic Con, I knew that I was going to put out another issue post Comic Con. And I knew that I wanted to have a certain theme for the magazine. So I asked a whole bunch of Black creators, you know, who were their favorite Black villains. And it became like a question that they was kind of stumped on, which I'm actually glad, because now post-Black Panther, post-Black Lightning, post-Black, you know, Luke Cage, we have like all these visible Black villains that I can take that content and create a whole conversation about. So I really just think about forward. I'm really trying to think forward and more progressive as far as how I want to create these narratives around Black creators, as opposed to asking the same questions, you know, how do you feel about being the only Black artist, or how do you feel about being the only Black writer? You know, I want to get into a movement, and I want to keep that momentum going.
I like to seek out Black excellence, but more so everyday people doing extraordinary things that wouldn't necessarily make the news otherwise. I feel like we do a lot of gossip and a lot of celebrity on other larger platforms, but it's rarely like us, like what are we doing, you know? So that's more of the content that I like to highlight. And then just us in all different forms doing all the amazing things that we do, all the variations that we do.
Like I said earlier, I'm a TV junkie, so I like talking about television as a whole, just like across race or whatever. But just like making sure that, I guess the idea is making sure that even if a show is tailored to white audiences, that Black people have a perspective about that show and can offer their opinions and critiques and things they like about it, things that they could be doing better. So just making sure that, I guess it's the larger conversation about like, you know, who's able to be a critic. So in movie criticism, it's a big thing. I think at TV, it's been right under that conversation in terms of movies because of the way that TV is. It's just not on the same level as movies, even though it totally is in terms of content and the things that are coming out. But it's just the idea that we don't have to pigeonhole Black critics to only Black content, because then white content doesn't get any better or any more inclusive. Like, we still need to be talking about those shows as well. So it's just like all of the above, like get us into the rooms and press rooms for diverse content, because that's still amazingly a struggle. But also into mainstream shows, like I have a Doctor Who podcast. Doctor Who's historically been one of the whitest shows, and they are getting slightly better, but it's still a show that I really, really love. Been rewatching it recently, but it's still a show that could be doing better, and we still should be able to talk about the things that they are also doing wrong and why they're doing it wrong and what they could be doing to make it better. So I think those are the conversations that I lean towards, among other things, but that's the first thing that came to mind.
In terms of pop culture, I love doing movie and television. I hate to call them movie and TV reviews because I find that, not to self-promote, but I find that our reviews, yeah, they're not like anything else that you've ever heard. Yeah, we very specifically and intentionally, when we're reviewing film and television, we are dismantling white supremacist patriarchal capitalism. So I'm exploring the characters, I'm exploring casting choices, I'm exploring colorism, I'm exploring the way that women are interacting with one another and other people. So like, I really enjoy reviewing things that everyone is talking about, but no one is talking about this. You know what I'm saying? Like, why at the end of every Black crime drama, why is there a ribbon cutting? What, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's something to that. There's a reason for that. And we need to talk about that. We need to explore that and what it says about real life and what it says about, the art. So.
Yeah, I get that. It seems like the common thread that threads all four of your narratives together is this want of letting people know that we are out here and there is stuff that we care about and we like. We have a world as well, and to me it always seems like there's always some sort of friction when it comes to like, our world and then stuff that is much more mainstream. And I guess I wonder, do you guys think is it a struggle to sort of want to focus more on us building ourselves for ourselves instead of, say, always giving pushback to the mainstream for not noticing us, or is it something that's sort of easy to juggle? I don't think it's easy to juggle or anything, but I guess I'm wondering where on the pendulum do you guys lie? Is it more in the middle, or is it more like, oh yes, we have to, keep stomping on their necks, as we're out here, or is it more, or are you more along the lines of, yeah, they're there, but they'll notice us when they notice us. We should focus on ourselves.
I don't care what they think.
I'm Black, y'all. I'm Black and I don't care. So I'm happy that I'm able to live in that space where I don't have to worry about I had to leave the, everyday 9 to 5 where you have to code switch, and I don't have the patience for any of that anymore.
Girl.
So, and I'm thankful to be in a space where I can do that. But yeah, I'm not pandering to what you think we should do. It's for my community, so what my community is looking for, then that's the kind of content and outreach and things that I'm looking to do. Other than that, I don't care.
I think that there is space, not good for me, but I think in life, I think there's space for both of those things, and where everyone falls along the spectrum. On my podcast, we are speaking to Black women and femmes. That's the audience, period. That's it. And if you have questions, depending on who you are, if you're a Black person of some other variety, we may explain something to you. If you are not, we will tell you where to Google it or where to find it. Because I feel like we are so used to not being spoken to. We're so used to people talking around and about us, but not to us, that you underestimate what it's like to have a Black person on their platform actually speaking to you. Sometimes I'm listening to a Black person talk about something and they do an explanatory comment and go into an explanation of something. I'm like, wait a minute, but who are you talking to? Because all of us here know what that means, and you know that we know what that means. So who are you talking to, and why are you talking to them right now? And so I think that we underestimate the value in talking to each other in front of the white majority, in talking to each other in front of mainstream. They are going to listen. They are interested in what we have to say. They want to steal it. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to tap in. They're going to listen. I have a plethora of white listeners. White women email me every day, and I'm not talking to them. I will respond to their email, but my content is directed to other Black women, and that is a part of why they're interested in it, because they also have never heard conversations like this, because someone is always talking to them. You know what I mean? And so that experience of hearing people talk to one another about an experience that they know nothing about, they're into that, But I think that there's also value in, is the hashtag, was Oscar so white or Oscar so white? There's value in that too. You know what I mean? I think it's important that we uplift each other's art, but also, white folks, pay what you owe. You know what I'm saying? We're out here doing this work, pay what you owe. Give me my Oscar so that I can potentially get more and better work, even though that traditionally hasn't worked out like that with white folks. But pay what you owe. So I think that there's a space for all of those things. There's space for folks who are comfortable in the space of demanding, hey, listen, pay what you owe. And I think there's space for people like me and Nay who are like, I'm over here drinking juice, talking about homegirls, and I will retweet that hashtag,
Gotcha. Well, I guess I'm almost the oddball out because I'm usually the only Black girl in the communications department. Right. Only the Okay. And
There's solidarity here.
So when I'm in the newsroom or I'm in that office and trying to create content, it's usually, they say something and then they look at you and then they're like, is it okay with you? What you do? And then when you tell them well, they ask really passively because they already know what they want to do. They just want that, Black assurance that this is what we're going to do. And
This is probably problematic. Maybe I should ask Eryka first. I still might go through with it anyway.
Yeah, do it anyway. And stealing content is a real thing. For a while I stopped actually putting my articles on Huffington Post because I started seeing my articles being chopped and screwed on other websites. And I would just write something like I would think it would be funny, and then it would be chopped and screwed into an 8-piece on Atlantic or CNN or something. So I was just like, okay. So they definitely looked at us to remix our content so they can repackage it for their audience. And I find a lot that when we are trying to create content for us, about us, they only want little bits and pieces of it that they can actually understand and consume, and then they want to they want to whitewash it down a little bit, and then spread it out. And then when they come back to you, edit it down the way they think it should be looked, you're like, this is not even what I gave you. So I just, you get tired of trying to tell a story and then someone who doesn't know your story trying to write it for you. I think that's where I was just like, I can't really do this anymore because it's not your story anymore. And it takes away from the time and the energy you put into creating content, and to have it just brushed off and overlooked is not a good look. And then when your story goes viral, you know, it's like, okay, can we get more of that? Can we get more of that? So it's like, you want me to do the work, you don't want it. But if it's something that you can actually make money from hits and ads from, you want more of it. And so it's not popular anymore.
Meanwhile, I see, you know, I used to see a whole bunch of stories on HuffPost that I didn't really, excuse me, I'm not and I don't really care for, that it doesn't, it's, you know, it's almost as if, you know, they give themselves all the chances to sort of, you know, fail going upwards. But when it comes to us, it's like, all right, Eryka, Taj, Connie, Janicia, one chance to prove us wrong on our stuff that is BS anyway. Well, you're still just gonna get that one shot. Prove me wrong. So, and you just get tired of that after a while. Either it gets pushed aside or ignored, or they see something that they want from it, so they sort of, you know, pick at it, pick it apart, tear it asunder until it's, you know, you don't even recognize what you created anymore. So I feel you on that.
I guess as Janicia was saying earlier, there's that balance of wanting to have it all. We want to have our Black content that is speaking only to us, but also we deserve to be seen in the mainstream. So I guess I guess I'm sort of like on the line of that spectrum, maybe more towards the side of like, we deserve to be in the mainstream as well. We deserve to have Oscars and Emmys, and every time I watch the Emmys, I should be looking at the categories for Best Actor and Actress and being like, all right, I don't really care about any of you. Where is Rutina Wesley from Queen Sugar? Why is Queen Sugar not an Emmy-nominated show? I genuinely don't understand. Like, even from the technical, and also that's the thing that is interesting, where it's like, the idea of a show like Queen Sugar, so if you've seen it, it's a beautifully written show, it's beautifully acted, it has great cinematography, so like, the fact that when the show came out, we're like, well, at least maybe they'll give us a technical category, because, you know, cinematography and those kinds of, like, more below the line creative processes are often sometimes thrown our way, you know, or even in the nerd space, which is, you know, I balance both of those, shows that are really, you know, action-packed and stuff. So it's like, maybe we'll get stuck choreography, as opposed to best actor, best actress in these shows. So, it's those things that are also equally baffling of like, why do I have to wonder why, like, oh, Black Lightning's never gonna get an Emmy nomination. Like, I just don't have that. It's not even an idea in my head. They're not going to nominate Luke Cage for anything, like, just because they never do. So I think that is one thing I think about a lot, is like, why are these shows, beyond their genre, like, why are these shows not being pushed forward, and we don't even have the idea if they would be nominated, you know? So it's that balance of like, we should be, and our community is big enough where we can do both. So like, I appreciate that you were like, this is what I do, but I appreciate, and I'll throw a retweet on the things that everyone else does, because we can't have that single mentality of like, we only need to focus on our Black content. Like, we should be able to do it all, and our community is big enough and should be hopefully unified enough to be able to support all aspects of those missions and drives that we have.
I agree. I think we can definitely do both. You know, because it's like we're here, we exist. So it's like, hey, hello. I don't think saying, you know, hey, hello, we exist, we're here. This is all the stuff that we do. Stop ignoring us. I don't think that that's necessarily like a call for validation or begging for validation. That's just saying like, hey, open your eyes. This is reality. We do exist. We are in the world. So the fact that you can have, seven white actors, and then, you know, just have one black actor, and maybe if we're lucky, one, you know, Afro-Latino actor or actress or whatever, and it's like, you know, what world are you living in? You know what I mean? So, or maybe it is just a reflection of how segregated communities are. So, but I still definitely agree that we can do both. We can build ourselves up, and we can also, you know, kick them to ass when the mainstream gets it wrong. Yeah, sorry, I'm probably gonna cuss for the rest of this. Okay, so what type of content do you guys think matters to your audience?
Accomplishments, you know, someone opening up a store, someone, you know, getting on a New York Times list, those type of achievements people like because it inspires them, you know, as a writer, as an artist. People like to see other people that look like them getting it, you know, they want to be inspired. They like breaking news, you know, what's going on, who did what, you know. They definitely like events to see, you know, black people happy. Black people like to see other black people happy, you know, at parties and, you know, when the Kwanzaa crawl, like, you know, people just like to see stuff like that, you know. I did a Black Panther screening in February with over 300 black people. And I did it because the community said, we want to see black people, and Black Panther together, like an exclusive event. So I was like, can I do it? Is it possible? And I found a theater and I said, okay, let's make it exclusive. All black people, all Black Panther. And, you know, whatever the community wants, you try to give them what they want, you know? So, if people want to be exclusive, they want to know what's going on. Interviews, people love when I talk to their favorite creators and favorite artists, whether it's be the Chicago Kid, rest in peace Prodigy, I interviewed him. Running up on Ta-Nehisi Coates at Comic-Con. Just a variety of people that, you know, people want to know, you know, stuff that they like. They like to see that, you know, the people that they admire are just like them.
A lot of the same. My audience also likes, like, and it could be also that I'm a photographer, but my audience happens to be big on imagery as well. So they want to see the reflection of themselves, even if it's not how they can maybe go to work every day, but how, you know, when we're in our own spaces, how they feel like they can be free to be. Definitely a lot of Black excellence that skyrockets whenever somebody's doing something in these spaces that we think that we're not supposed to be in, and then we're like, hey, we're here and we're doing it better than you ever thought we could, and most times better than you. But yeah, definitely just Black excellence across the board there. That's my audience is down for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I do so many different things that I technically have different audiences for those things. But yeah, just everything that both of you said. And I think something that is important also is someone who is breaking through and getting into a space that we traditionally have been excluded from, but then being able to speak to people like us in our platforms while doing those things, because I know a lot of conversations that I'm around. I'm not a film critic, but I know a lot of Black film critics and, you know, Black actors. Their publicity people keep them gatekeeped to the mainstream outlets. And so the less mainstream ones, the Black outlets, are at the end of the press line, or we're not allowed in the press room. And so it's great when you actually do get to have that access. And that in itself is something that a lot of the communities that I'm in find important, versus like, oh, you actually are able to talk to us about this thing that you're doing in Hollywood, but we're just like this small outlet that is unfunded, is not paid, is not staffed properly. Great, and you know, that helps visibility for those outlets and for those writers and things. So I think just people who've made it, being able to speak to the people who are still building their platforms is important.
I think that because we cover everything, people really like when we crap on something that they love. You know what I mean? In a loving way. In a loving way. Like, oh, y'all, you like that episode of She's Gotta Have It? Let me tell you why it's bad for you.
You love something, so you gotta break it down. You gotta break it down when it's messing up.
You know, or if you don't like something, you gotta talk about it. So yeah, so they like that a lot, and just hearing, I think the way that we do that, it's never like attacking. I think that there's this thing within the culture sometimes to say, oh, all of y'all like that? Y'all stupid because da-da-da-da, you're not, and it beating down one another, and I think for us it's more about, it's interesting that a lot of people like this because this is what I saw from it, and this is what I got from it, and we try not to crap on each other. We'll crap on what you like, but we're not going to crap on Black joy. You know what I'm saying?
You don't go star and buckle out with it.
No, we don't. So yeah, I think lovingly challenging the things that we have been taught that I'm just supposed to like. You know what I mean? And critiquing that and pointing out things that people hadn't recognized
And I
before.
feel like a lot of the people who say like, oh, all y'all like that, that's dumb,
Yes.
are the people who are like, oh, but Black people aren't a monolith.
Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna say that, like, because you didn't like a thing, and other people do like it, that they're dumb for liking it, when you also don't want to perpetuate the idea that we are all the same? I don't. And there are people like that out there who are just like, why do you all love Beyonce? And it's just like, well, first of all, she's great. But second of all, like, I can like what I like and one, still be Black, because that is also a challenge people somehow have. Oh, you like that thing? That just takes away your Black card or something. That's a ridiculous idea. But, you know, just like.
Oh, no, I enable shenanigans, so I mean, if you want to go off, I enable those.
So like, yeah, it's just, you know, we are all allowed to like different things and to approach them from different ways, and I think that makes our outlets and platforms more interesting. So I just wanted to add on to that.
Yeah. I think that a lot of us fall into the trap of worrying about what white people think and what white people are thinking. So those same people who say, oh, we're not a monolith, right? And then come back and say, well, why y'all all like this? You're not supposed to like that. They're concerned with what white people are thinking, right? So I'm not a monolith in front of white folks. We gotta make sure white folks know we're not a monolith. But over here,
from New Jack City.
yeah, but over here, why are you liking and talking about this? Because that's not what we're supposed to do in front of white folks. It always goes back to, no matter how pro-Black it sounds, a lot of times there are a lot of people, I know people are calling them hoteps now, no disrespect to actual peace and loving Black people, but there are people who are so pro-Black in a way that's ignorant to all Blackness. They are so pro-Black that they are white supremacists. You know what I'm saying? They are so pro-Black that they want to limit us in everything that we do so that we don't, and constantly thinking about how we look to white folks because they are the supreme, you know, team. I had to say that, sorry. So yeah, I think that oftentimes falls under that. I'm saying we're not a monolith, but if we gotta be a monolith in front of white folks, it's okay. Whatever white folks are feeling, that's what I want to go along with, you know?
I actually want to get back to your point about publicists. I have a love and hate relationship with publicists. True story. When Luke Cage's first season came out, before someone was like really big on Twitter, well, she had like 400 followers, right? I found her on Twitter and I was like, I want to interview her. And I wanted to do it because my designer for Fabulize, we had did a cover of Miss Knight 2005. And when we did it, no one knew who Missy Knight was. It was like, what's this girl with a gun on your cover? Like, you don't understand. Like, and I was like, we have to like go after her. And she gave me her PR contact information on Twitter. And I emailed her PR contact people like every month. Like, I could not get an interview. I got the runaround. I would call, leave messages, email chains, or whatever. And when she came to do a press tour at AOL, I was there, front and center, and you know, me and her took pictures, and she knew who I was, right? Because I had to like some Snapchat video of her, she'd be posting on her Instagram. And I walked up to her publicist, and I was like, it's me. That's how it's me. Like, you know, you see where I work, you know, I'm still interested in this interview, and they was just like, you know, like kind of like brushed me off. So publicists, I understand, because, you know, I've done PR work, so I understand that you want your clients to be in Variety, you want your clients to be in New York Times, but it's also the smaller indie independent media that, you know, has the most loyal audience. You know, getting a big hit on Newsweek is cool, but it's the smaller blogs and podcasts that has a growing audience, a loyal audience, that make you seem more approachable. So I really have a love-hate relationship with publicists. And I hate that when they want to come to you when they finally get like a black talent or something like, you know, more diverse. And they're like, hey, we're doing this movie and we want you to come. It's like, what about the other movies you was doing? What about the other projects you was doing? You want me to come see a little Chitlin Circuit? Because you need some black media, and it's like, that's what you do. They really do this, and it's like really irritating. And to your point, respectability politics plays a lot into what people think pro-blackness is, because I mean, fundamentally, I believe black people are just conservative. Whether they want to admit it or not, there's a lot of trauma there to like really back that up. But fundamentally, you know, if Republicans weren't as racist, more black people will vote Republican. Seriously, like between religion and traditional values, you know, that's just where we line up at. You know, so when they think about pro-blackness, you know, they want to mimic what they see from whiteness, because they feel like that, like you said, is a standard. You know, they just figure like, if we could be more like them, you know, we'll get more higher than.
Exactly, that's pretty much the essence of respectability politics is if we can show the majority that we're just like, that we can be just like them, that we can assimilate to, you know, that we can assimilate to their culture, you know, that we're interested in the same things, or we want to, you know, we want to work, we want to send our kids off to school and, you know, have the, you know, 2.5 kids and a dog and a house and a fence and all that other stuff. And, you know, we don't want to, you know, be these stereotypes that we didn't create in the first place, and that every group has their thing, but it's only pathological with us because it's you know, apparently the majority needs something to point to and be like, this is how you should not be.
Right. I think that black folks are surprisingly more conservative than we would think, but I think that sometimes I think that's one of the traps that we fall into saying about one another, that we are such a rigid group of folks, you know what I'm saying? I think that there are more not conservative black folks than we think there are. You know what I'm saying? There are more black folks into a variety of different shit, seeing the world larger, you know what I mean, than we have been told that black people see the world. But I do agree with your point that there are large swaths of black people that are more conservative and would be, like you said, would be Republican if they weren't so freaking racist. But I think that there's a thinking that like, that's how black people are, you know what I'm saying, that I just want to combat against a little bit.
I think that's also because a lot of our spaces, like comic and indie spaces, we always felt like we had to be in a corner and find our own little group. So it seems as if the conservatives are the mainstay when we all know that that's not the truth once you're actually out there. And to your point, I call it faux blackness, because there's no way, like, if you can't be one thing, like if we're categorizing something and then just say, oh, I'm that, just for the sake of saying it. Like, I can't just walk out and say, oh, I'm a doctor, and I haven't done any of the work to be a doctor. But I feel like I agree that we have these spaces, but because we are now fighting to make them more public, people still feel like they don't exist, or there's just this one type of, you know, blackness. But that's why I'm happy we have things like WinCon and all these panels that we can be on, where we have our voices to be heard more, and so we feel less like, oh, it's just me and potentially my best friend. It's like, you know, oh, now, what, there's like 50 of us? Like, what do you mean? We got in one space, like, so I'm happy we have these kinds of things.
All right, so where do you guys want to see the the industry of geek media? Where do you guys want it to go? And also, what do you think is holding it back from where it needs to evolve to?
I just want to see more, I want to see more Black creatives. I want to see more marginalized people feel like they don't need to state that they're marginalized to be seen. You know, I just want them to be seen. I want them to be comfortable. I want them to find a community that actually cares about them. And I don't want them to continue to fight to be seen and heard. You know, I want to see more diverse cons. You know, I've been going to Comic-Con since 2013. And little by little every year is trying to become, you know, they're trying to have more diverse panels. You know, from 2013 it was probably like 4 or 5 diverse panels, and like now we're in 2000. You know, every year from 4 panels to 6 panels to 10 panels, you know, so they're trying, but you know, we shouldn't have to look to events like that. We should be able to still be able to produce our own. You know, I appreciate smaller cons and events that cater to us because, you know, that's where it starts. You know, we could say we don't want to be accepted, but then, you know, we break our neck to try to get accepted so we can be seen. So I definitely want to see more smaller cons become bigger. I want to see more artist galleries. I want to see more diverse artists, not just at cons, but in museums and galleries and street art and performance art. I want to see it everywhere. I wanted to see it so I can see it's the normal, you know. There are Black people in the future. And so that's what I'm looking to see, more Black people in the future.
I'd like to see the community support more. Like, this auditorium should be full, in my opinion. I'd like to see more of us putting our dollars behind each other. Looking for indie things where it's not just always looking for mainstream media outlets to, you know, try and show, because we exist, obviously. So search out what you're looking for and support it. Not that you can't support the others, but make sure that you're giving equal, if not more, support to the ones who are actually putting into you, who are pouring into you. And what was that? The other part of your question? You said what was going on?
What do you think is holding it back, holding the industry back?
That's still the same answer. It'd still be the community. But it's a work in progress, and we understand that it's a growing baby. Like, we wouldn't have been able to have the things that we have and the levels that we're having, especially like when you say Queen Sugar. I feel like that show needs way more buzz than it's getting. So we're now receiving, you know, these platforms and these series and outlets and news medias and podcasts and things that we didn't have before. So I feel like it's growing, but it's on us to help it catapult to the next platform. Like, subscribe to the Patreon, subscribe to the newsletter, subscribe to whatever it is. Like, if you want to see it grow, we have to put our support behind these platforms. Otherwise, they turn into, or they get bought out by the other companies because the owners have to live, you know. So.
More Black people staffed at at the mainstream places. I'm very blessed to be staffed at a very mainstream but children's focused like publication, but I'm the only one. I have my Dominican coworker. We like go to lunch and like talk about how we shouldn't be the only ones, and a lot of people who are better than me, write better, who've been in the industry longer, are not staffed, and it's ridiculous that they're not. And you know, with criticism and with publications and with getting our pitches accepted, like, it's because we're the only person in the room, and like no one who looks like us is with us or above us as editors and as you know, leaders in a lot of organizations. So just seeing more of us be able to make a living out of being who we are and like covering this kind of content and things like that, because there aren't a lot of us, and a lot of the people who are able to do it have to do it on the side. It's not their full-time job, or it's not the only thing that they're able to do, and that's not the case for a lot of white reviewers and critics and things like that. So, and journalists in general. So, for journalism to not be forced to be our side hustle because we still have to pay bills is what I would like.
Root for everybody black.
So just to be able to move everybody,
Root for everybody black. So everybody, white folks, they're gonna get their shine. You're gonna hear about them. You're gonna buy their stuff. It's the mainstream. That's what's happening. We need you to root for everybody black, okay? And that includes, I'm using black as a generalized term for POC folks. That includes everybody. On my show, we do a Paid Black Women segment. We include Indigenous women in that always. Like, root for everybody black. Root for, if I'm a black cis woman, I try and uplift trans women, I try and uplift disabled folks. Use your privilege to root for everybody black and root for other people who are more marginalized than yourself. And do not, whiteness is not the standard of excellence, okay? So even in our own media, there are a lot of us who are trying to be, oh, I want to be the black so-and-so, or I want to be this, or, and the kingdom has fallen, or we have one thing, that one agency, one company, one black thing that we have held as, okay, this is the one. It's enough space for everybody to eat, it's enough space for everybody to get it, and if we all root for everybody black, we will get there together.
on that note, I think that's a good note to open it up. It's 1:52 now, so we can put aside some time to take questions if anybody has any questions. But first, give it up for the panel. I'll use this mic. If anybody has questions for the panel, let me know. I saw you.